Hello everyone, this is Mr. Appel, and I'm going to solve this system now using substitution. So remember with substitution, we're looking for a variable that does not have a coefficient, or has a coefficient of 1, I should say, so that I don't have to divide when I isolate that variable. The first one that pops out here is this y in the first equation, although I also notice in the second equation there's an x, so I could have done that as well. But I'm going to go ahead and use the y just because it was the first one I saw. So I'm going to rewrite that equation, subtracting the 3x from both sides and subtracting the 2z from both sides. And so we get y equals negative 3x minus 2z plus the 5. And now we're going to take that and substitute it in wherever we see y in the other two equations, which will eliminate the y's from the system, leaving us with x's and z's and two equations. So let's first plug it in here. So that becomes x minus, and you got to be careful with the minus y because it's minus that entire thing, so we're going to have to distribute the negative. Just be real careful there. And so we get x plus 3x plus 2z minus 5. And now let's combine like terms. There's our x's, there's our z's, and I'm going to add that 5 over to the other side and get the 17. All right, now we're going to do the same thing, substituting into the third equation. So that's going to give us 2x plus the negative 3x minus 2z plus 5 minus the 2z equals negative 3. So again, I just substituted the y in for the y. And now let's clean this up. 2x and negative 3x is negative 1x. Negative 2z makes negative 4z. And then this plus 5 I'm going to subtract from both sides to get a minus 5, so negative 3 minus 5 is a negative 8. So now we have our two equations in two variables. So from here, this is old stuff, this is stuff you know how to do, so you may be able to just stop there and finish this off yourself. But if you're stuck or just want to see it done, let's go. So since I'm doing substitution, maybe I'll just keep going with substitution here. And this one won't be so bad because again, I see this x. I tend to prefer elimination, but since we're doing this by substitution, let's just go with it. So I want to get this x here in the second equation all by itself. Oops, let's change colors. And so I'm going to add the 4z to both sides and then multiply by a negative 1 to get the x all by itself. Now I'm going to take that and substitute back into the other equation. We're not plugging back into the original system yet. We still need to solve for z, and then we can start working our way backwards. So that now becomes 4 times negative 4z plus 8. And so we've got negative 16z. 8 times 4 is 32 plus 6z. Combine those in like terms, that's negative 10z. And I'm going to subtract the 32 from both sides. Whoops. So that's a negative 15. Dividing both sides by negative 10. We get that z negative divided by negative is positive. 15 over 10 is 1.5, or 3/2. So it's going to be a little annoying to plug back in, since z ended up being a fraction, but not the end of the world. So you can use whatever form you find easier to work with. And now let's go ahead and plug that back into our other equations. So I'm going to first plug that back into this equation right here. So we get negative, here I'm going to go back to purple since that's the one we're doing. I don't know if the coloring is helping, but hopefully it is. So So I just plug that 1.5 in for z. So negative x minus 6, because 4 times 1.5 is 6. So negative x, if I add the 6 to both sides, is negative 2, multiplied by a negative 1, and we get x equals 2. Almost home. Now I'm just going to take those two and plug them back into any of the original equations. So I'm going to plug them into this original one right there, just because it's the one I can see on my screen. So that's, let's change it up again. Let's go with that pink. So 2 times the x plus the y minus 2 times the z equals negative 3. Zoom back in. 4 plus y. 2 times 1.5 is 3, so that's minus 3. The 4 and the negative 3 makes a 1. Subtract the 1 from both sides, and we get negative 4. Whew. So our final answer, x is 2, y is negative 4, z is 1.5 or 3/2. That's all for now. Thanks.